Hello, welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube account, and later on our podcast channel. Newcastle beat West Ham 3-2 up at St James's Park. It was a game that had absolutely everything. I'm joined by Chief Sports Writer Lee Ryder, who was at the ground. Lee, how do you sum up this afternoon?
Yeah, it was, as you say, had absolutely everything. You never can get too comfortable with Newcastle United, and that game proved it. 2-0 up and flying. I did say before the game, West Ham would be nervous because of the position they're in, and that proved to be correct. But Newcastle gave them a written invitation back into the game, actually, in the second half. And then you were almost amazingly pondering, would 1 point be a good result from that game? Obviously, it wouldn't have, but thankfully, Newcastle, they got on with it. They rolled their sleeves up, and thanks to Joe Willock, they've got a winner in the end.
Alan St Maxim back in the side, and he was absolutely brilliant. He only actually had 29 touches, but that first half, West Ham just couldn't handle him. The defence just parted every time St Maxim got on the ball, and obviously he has a hand in that first goal. How would you sum up his performance?
Yeah, I thought he was outstanding. Really, obviously, he's going to get sharper as the weeks go on as well. That's the other thing. But thankfully, when he went off, it was okay because he'd given them sort of the platform to go on and win it. But when he gets fully fit, you're going to see a different team, I think, altogether. That's just a taste of what's to come. He's a class act. Newcastle really, without him, have not looked anywhere near the decent side that they can be. But ultimately, today, he was man of the match for me. And, I thought Matt Ritchie played very well too, getting 2 assists. And Newcastle have looked, his return has coincided with, a draw and 2 victories. So lots to be positive about. But that sort of sticky spell in the second half, that was worrying.
So we had an own goal by Diop. Joe Linton then scored the second. I mean, the first 2 goals, Lee, were just absolute howlers by the West Ham defence and goalkeeper. And the second one, I mean, Fabianski just drops it onto Joe Linton's foot and it's in the back of the net. I mean, it's been a long while since I think I've seen 2 clangers in a game like that.
Yeah, I mean, again, going back to West Ham's nerves, I mean, that's it's natural really where they are. They're way above where they should be. And you did think that, today was an opportunity for Newcastle. Thankfully, they've taken it. But the goalkeeper, as you say, having a real old wobble there. And Newcastle really, they played on the break. And I think they only had 30-odd% possession overall. And as you say, St Maximin only got 29 touches. And there was others as well who were on a low sort of touch count, but it didn't really matter in the end of the day because Newcastle, did well with the ball when they had it.
Craig Dawson sent off in the build-up to that goal, the St Maximum Diop own goal for taking out Joe Linton's second booking there. I think it's importantly to state, while the second half was well below maybe what we all expected, the first half, Newcastle were on top even before West Ham got sent down in 10 men, and they came out looking sharp. I think we spoke about how West Ham often start really well and Newcastle don't tend to, but it was kind of the other way around. Newcastle came out of the traps really well and deserved their 2-goal lead at half time.
Oh, they were full value for it. There's no doubt about that. My only worry with them was that they were going to get dragged in because West Ham had completely lost the plot. They needed half time more than Newcastle did. My only worry was Newcastle were going to get dragged into the sort of West Ham's fury, if you like. And, with Shelvey being on a yellow card, I did raise a question at half time. Would Stevie Bruce be saying, shall I take him off here, or can you hold your nerve for the second period? Thankfully, he did. It wasn't his best game by any stretch of the imagination. But I think to be fair, I think the midfield did go missing a little bit in the second half, because that's where West Ham were just coming through the centre and causing a lot of problems. And it could have been a total total nightmare when that penalty was given, because West Ham at that point probably felt they had a right to push on and win the game, but Newcastle thankfully had something in reserve.
Definitely, when that penalty went in, I think a lot of people thought Newcastle might let the points slip. The second half, Lee, it wasn't very good at all. And what you put it down to, I know Steve Bruce was asked about it in his press conference, because the two performances, the first 45 to the second, were just massively different. And I was really disappointed by the second half.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Bruce said in his press conference after the game, everything we asked them to do at half time, they didn't bother. So that's obviously where they went wrong. I mean, Steve Bruce was redder in the face than I am at the moment by the full-time whistle. It really puts you through the mill, doesn't it? And to be fair, looking around, some of the staff on the way out the ground, they were the same. That's what Newcastle United does to you. It takes you on this sort of roller coaster ride in the 90 minutes, and that's what happened today. It was a little bit like the Southampton game in some ways. When Newcastle ended the game with 9 men that day, but held on. They don't make it easy for themselves. That's top and bottom of it. And really, had they not got the 3 points today, that would have been such a huge blow, and possibly given Fulham some little bit of encouragement going into their game. But as it stands now, 9 points clear, the 15th place, the dizzy heights of 15th place, and 9 points clear with 6 games left. You would surely think Newcastle can go on and finish the job now.
Fingers crossed. And I know today was probably all about getting the points and making sure that gap between Newcastle and Fulham, we got 3 more points there. But I just look at it longer termly, and I think how long can Steve Bruce talk about a good first half or a good second half performance where the other half was not good at all? And going forward, looking into next season, we need to start seeing a bit of improvement and consistency, don't we?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, it was only last week I was having the conversation with you about the complete performance after the Burnley game. I mean, that was, that went the other way. But really, if maybe they are building up to a big conclusion, and we're going to see a couple of these complete performances. That'll be fine, because if they can do that, get another couple of wins, then they'll be safe. But they needed this today. They needed to show the character to hold on, and thankfully, that's exactly what they did. You look at where they go from here. Obviously, Liverpool away next. That's never much fun going down to Anfield. So that will be tough. But with the results the way they've been this season, you never know. You never know. And then they can get the job done, completely. And 38 points, I think, for me now will be enough to stay up. Even 35 could be, depending on the way Fulham go.
Lots of people asking about the penalty. Obviously, it was awarded after a VAR decision, the ball striking Kieran Clark's hands. For you, Lee, was it a harsh penalty?
Well, when you're going up for a header and you're sort of leading with your arm or your forearm, then you leave yourself exposed. And the minute I seen the referee run over the monitor, I thought, well, that's a penalty. No, to be fair, I don't think people noticed the press, because there's no monitors at the moment. They didn't realise that it was a VAR check, but thankfully I had a screen behind me in one of the boxes, and you could see the VAR. The match feed showed a VAR check, so I knew it was going to get looked at. And then when I seen Kevin Friend running over at the monitor, I thought, yeah, he's going to give that, because he can't not give it, because he's led with his arm. And I think Newcastle tried to take the sting out of it a little bit with the player getting treatment. And then obviously Dubravka tried the mind games with Lingard, but it was a good penalty. Player in form, and he's beaten him there. And 2-2, it was anybody's game, even against 10 men, 11v10. It was anybody's game at that point.
Yeah, and Willock comes off the bench and gets the winner. Obviously, he had a similar impact against Spurs the other week. And again, I think first of all, we pay, you've already briefly done it, but Matt Ritchie, great ball into the box, and Willock rises again and puts it home. He says he's been practicing his head, and it's clearly paying off.
Yeah, and the point I want to make on Willock is that we've got players at the club where they're a similar age, but he's getting in the team ahead of them. Arsenal are very good with their youngsters in terms of giving them the game time and getting them the experience. Believe it or not, I think Willock's played nearly 80 games for Arsenal over the time he's been there, and his Premier League experience is there for all to see, because he's now come off the bench twice, haven't been dropped, and got vital points for Newcastle. They could turn out to be absolutely crucial. So Steve Bruce actually said in his press conference that he would like to sign him again next season, whether that's on loan or paying the money. But for me, if he can produce that, I mean, that's his third goal now, is it? It's for Newcastle. So yeah, you want goals from midfield. He certainly bought that, and he saved the day for Newcastle today.
I'm thinking the chance to actually score another goal at St James's Park in front of a full crowd might have enough to persuade him maybe that next season he could come back. Fingers crossed. A lot of people asking though, why isn't he starting? Do you think he scores today, he makes that impact? Do you think he does enough to see either Shelvey or Longstaff drop out next week, or a formation change to get Willock into the side?
Well, he's certainly done his case no harm in the last two home games, but really, I thought Longstaff today, first half, fine, no problem with that. Second half, I think it was a collective thing, really, but the midfield seemed to suffer the most. And as I say, West Ham were working a lot through the centre and creating a lot of pressure on the Newcastle goal. So I think it would be possibly a little bit harsh if Sean Longstaff was dropped next game. Shelvey, he's the captain. I can't see him going out the team, even though he didn't play very well today. Let's be totally honest. I don't know if people agree with me or not on that. I don't think he did very well overall. He got the yellow card and he was on a knife edge. But yeah, the good thing is the creating chances and the scoring goals, and that's huge. Didn't even look like scoring a couple of months ago, but now they are creating chances. They are looking a confident team going forward, and 35 points in the bank with 6 games to go. Steve Bruce saying he was going to try and beat last season's points tally, which was 44. So that would be 3 wins from the last 6 games. That will be very difficult, but at least they're talking positively and playing positively at the moment.
A few people in the comments saying they would like to see Shelvey drop to the bench for the next game. And agreeing, Lee, with you that he should have been hooked off at half time with that yellow, but obviously survived the game. A positive as well, Callum Wilson back, comes off the bench, and he had one moment where he sprints through. It was a Miggy pass, and the pass was overhit, but Wilson tried his best to get there. He was full speed. Everything looked fine. There was no kind of pull up. I mean, that might have been the initial fear when he starts hitting full speed, but perfectly fine. And he got involved, and it was good to see. And he looks like he's probably back to match fitness, and definitely within a shout of starting, you would say, next weekend.
Yeah, you would say so. There's nothing to lose to start him at Liverpool in some ways. I think realistically now Newcastle, they are, they can go into the Liverpool game feeling relaxed in some ways because they've got the points they needed today. We'll see how Fulham get. I mean, Fulham's next 2 games, I think it's Arsenal and Chelsea. They're very difficult. If they don't emerge with at least 3 from that, then I think it's over. So hopefully they can, get back in the future. But realistically, this season has probably been down to Newcastle having that Premier League experience over Fulham. But, it's not done yet. That's one point Steve Bruce made in the press conference. He doesn't feel that, the 35-point mark is going to be enough, and they've got to keep pushing, but hopefully they can get there.
Fingers crossed. Well, Lee, thank you very much for joining us on the Everything is Black and White podcast. There we have it. Lee Ryder from St James's Park. And if you head over to chroniclelive.co.uk, you can catch up with Lee's match report, his player ratings, Kieran Kelly's 5 things, and many, many other pieces of analysis on today's game. Hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.